Putin News Now. The European Union is worried about the Russian threat now that Putin is less powerful. At a summit with European Union leaders, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky claimed that Russia's political unrest benefited the West. Following the weekend's brief mutiny by Russia's Wagner mercenary force, which exposed President Vladimir Putin's political weakness, EU officials have warned that Russia has become more dangerous. Senior officials attending an EU summit in Brussels on Thursday reiterated that the recent chaos in Russia was an internal matter in which their governments played no role, but that a weakened Putin was a concern for Europe. On his way into the meeting on Thursday, EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell warned that a diminished Putin posed a greater threat. Putin has lost the monopoly of force, Borrell said, adding that he believed Putin will be in cleaning mode internally, and a more assertive mode, as a result of the threat to his power revealed by the mutiny of Wagner fighters. As Borrell put it, now we have to look at Russia as a risk because of the internal instability, and the intelligence services of EU member states are analyzing potential outcomes. The weekend mutiny led by Wagner exposed cracks and divisions in Russia, according to NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg, who also said it was too early to draw conclusions about the effects of recent events. The mutiny that occurred over the weekend shows that the Russian system is not without its flaws and divisions. However, Stoltenberg stressed that these issues are purely domestic in Russia. Olaf Scholz, the Chancellor of Germany, has stated that a regime change in Russia is not a target. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky delivered a frank message to those who fear a weaker Putin will make him more dangerous during his video address to the EU summit on Thursday. What Zelensky called their weakness was something they desperately needed. Russia's leaders are more afraid of mutinies and uprisings the weaker their country is, so they won't want to do anything to annoy us. When Russia is defeated, the problem of this war will be solved, and the world will be safer as a result. As one of several EU nations bordering Russia, Lithuanian President Gitanas Nausėda insisted the chaos caused by the Wagner mutiny was all the more reason to take a robust stance towards Putin. Some people argue that Russia is safer with a strong Putin rather than a weak one. No, I don't think so. Nausėda remarked, now is a crucial moment in history, and we must move forward and be decisive. This demonstrated significant flaws in Putin's system. We will see aftershocks from last weekend's mutiny, warned EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. After being allowed to leave Russia for neighboring Belarus, Wagner forces have created chaos and instability, according to officials from several member states and EU institutions, who say the EU will have to redouble its support for Ukraine with commitments for more ammunition to ensure fighting and violence do not spill over into the EU bloc itself. Kaja Kallas, Prime Minister of Estonia, emphasized that there could be no room for doubt. We need to keep raising the cost of Russian aggression. At the NATO summit on July 11–12, many EU countries will look to offer Ukraine more security guarantees, short of full NATO membership. By the end of the two-day summit, that strategy for more backing is likely to have received universal approval. Russia's deputy commander of military operations in Ukraine and other senior Russian military figures have been noticeably absent from the scene as Putin has moved to reassert control in the wake of the Wagner uprising. Since General Sergei Surovikin disappeared from view following the failed weekend uprising by Wagner fighters, rumors have circulated that he was sympathetic to the goals of the mercenary force. Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesman, told the Russian news agency Interfax on Thursday that while several media outlets have claimed that Surovikin has been arrested, the general's whereabouts were a matter for the defense ministry. On Thursday, a Washington, D.C. think tank called the Institute for the Study of War, ISW, praised Peskov's response to questions about the missing general. If there hadn't been an investigation into Surovikin, Peskov could have denied ongoing speculations, the ISW said. Russian officials typically refuse to comment on ongoing investigations, so Peskov's refusal suggests that Russian officials may be investigating Surovikin, it said. The ISW also pointed out that Russian sources have provided contradictory information about what may have happened to Surovikin. One version has him being questioned by the security services about his connections to Wagner, while another has him being released. Considering Wagner's armed rebellion, the think tank argues that it is reasonable for Russian authorities to investigate Surovikin and any other military officials with ties to Prigozhin. Putin is collaborating with Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and Russia's top general, Valery Gerasimov, according to Peskov, who was asked whether Putin still trusted Surovikin. Surovikin is thought to be on Prigozhin's side, but he sided with Moscow's ruling elite when Wagner's forces marched in on a Saturday. Prigozhin claimed that his coup in Moscow was an effort to remove top military officials from power. A longtime critic of Defense Minister Shoigu and General Gerasimov, he holds them responsible for Russia's many military setbacks in Ukraine.